regular meeting of the Community Preservation Committee in the Dombey Griffin Room, Harwich Town Hall, 732 Main Street, Harwich, at 6 p.m. on Thursday, July 13th, 2023. The usual information, recording and taping notification as a requirement of the law. The town may audio and video this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this open session is required to inform the chair. Any guests or for public comments? I have a couple. Go ahead.
We received a letter, and I'll just read it aloud. It's from Patty Twerk at,
Jan, can
Chase
you,
Library.
I'm gonna hold on for 1
Please,
second. I just want you to speak into the mic. Okay.
So this is for public comment. We received a letter from Patty Twerk at the Chase Library. She addressed it and asked if we would, she wasn't able to make it tonight, and she asked if we would read the letter during public comment. Dear Mr. Nixon, I recently received the agenda for the July 13th CPC meeting, which I will not be able to attend, but I do have some thoughts that I would like to add to the public comments portion of the meeting. These are my personal opinions, and in no way am I speaking for Chase Library. I would like to comment on the following, if that is appropriate. Under new business, discussion, option to have all CPA projects listed in one warrant article for the 2024 annual town meeting. Then she writes, that's what's on our agenda, and she writes, I'm registering my firm objection to the conception of bundling all CPA projects into one warrant for presentation to the taxpayers at the annual town meeting. My reasons for opposing bundling are these. A single warrant forces a single vote. This diminishes a taxpayer vote from the total number of projects to only one vote. This may result in less desirable projects being passed so that desirable projects are approved, or just the opposite. One or more projects that would benefit from the community may fall because there are other projects that taxpayers do not deem worthy. Bundling of projects into one warrant can be perceived as weakening of voters' rights. The CPA has established 4 very distinct categories under which funds may be dispersed towards worthy projects. If bundling projects into one warrant is insistent upon town administrators, at the very least, CPA articles should be grouped in kind according to outlined in the Act. That would, at the very least, allow 4 votes per person. She would argue that bundling of warrants does not appreciably shorten town meeting as evidenced by last year's meeting. She believes that over the years, the CPC has done a very good job of asking the difficult questions and thoroughly vetting each project as it has been proposed. Town meeting is the time to hear from the CPC, FinCom, and the Select Board. It is up to the people of Harwich to determine the outcomes. Thank you very much for the consideration of this letter.
Okay, that was sent
July 9th.
July 9th. So I wanted to get that as a matter of record because she wanted to be here and was unable to attend. So we'll have a discussion on all these matters in an upcoming agenda. So I'm going to move on. Next, under the one thing I wanted to do was Carol Ridley sent in her letter of resignation. It was just acknowledged by the Board of Selectmen, and I want to thank Carol for her time on the board. Okay. Next, Danielle has 3 of the grant agreements signed. They came back, Board of Selectmen has signed them, and they've been sent to the Register's office, or the Town Clerk's office to be registered. Okay. That takes care of that. Approval of the minutes. We don't have the minutes tonight, so we're gonna postpone that. New business. Committee reorganization. I didn't think that was coming up that fast, but
Mary, you want to be nominated?
No, thank you. I move to nominate David Nixon to remain as chair of the CPC.
Second.
so there's a,
Move to close nominations.
no, we can't do that just yet. There's a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. So, the next thing is the vice chair position.
Kathy?
What?
There's a motion on the table for Kathy Green to be the vice chair of the
I thought she
CPC.
was just
So
asking me
No,
if
she
I wanted
wasn't,
to.
she was telling you, I got that.
I was asking Kathy, but
Okay.
apparently I was overruled on that.
Is there a
Would you
second?
be so kind as to,
I would unless somebody else wants it, because if somebody wants it, they can have it.
John, Kelly?
Pass.
You?
I second.
No, there's the
Any
second.
interest?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a done deal.
Never gonna get out of here. Never.
That's the plan.
She's tired of listening to me, that's the whole. Okay.
That's the
um,
plan.
Next, discussion on CPC projects listed, the one, I didn't realize that this was on the agenda. Okay, so I guess we're gonna have that discussion tonight. Wants to open a discussion? I'll open it up to the board. No discussion?
Oh, no, no, it's always discussion. Mary, can I just ask Mary what your opinion is based on your experiences in the town of Yarmouth?
So I will say in Yarmouth, we do bundle CPC articles. In Yarmouth, we bundle them by category. I have also seen them bundled, we've bundled them here before. Chris Clark, as town administrator, used to bundle them under 50,000, over 50,000. He did groups.
Yes, he did.
We have done the under 50,000 many times. but-
So, I don't see it as a big problem. I think the issue is, and the moderators typically say, if there's a matter that you want to discuss, say hold on a topic, and we'll go back to it and you can vote it separately. So I don't have a huge problem with it being bundled, and I certainly think in watching Yarmouth's go, it's been easy to watch the CPC articles at town meeting because that representative gives the report for those particular articles. So George Slamma happens to be the chair of the Historic Commission in Yarmouth. He gets up and presents the positive motion for the, 3 or 4 historic articles. He gives the explanation for each of the articles. He's available to ask questions. And, there's minor just with each of the articles. So at least bundling in groups hasn't been confusing. It hasn't, I certainly think it has speeded up matters because you're talking about the same types of projects at the same time, and people can see what projects are competing against each other for the same kind of bucket of money. I also just have to acknowledge it's the selectmen's warrant, so if they put it together how they want to put it together. So, I think they probably could still bundle it over our objection, even if, the board wanted to object to bundling them together, so.
Can I step in for a moment? When you say bundling are you talking about each individual bucket being bundled?
Correct, so each article, so I can call up, give me a second, I can call up our
Well, if you called up historic from this
So-
last year,
so
you
I'm.
have had the Brooks Academy Museum, the War Memorials Project.
And those all would have been under one article with, 3 specific projects with the totals for each specific project. an explanation for each project in each warrant.
Okay, can I step in? I'm perceiving this totally different. Not only you're talking categorized individual allotments, it seems to me that they want to put the entirety of CPC into one article.
That's another way, is
That's
what you're
another way
saying.
to
It's
do it.
another alternative.
Right, but that's the impression I'm getting from the
And they
board.
could, I mean, Kathy asked me about what my
And
experience
I
is in other
understand.
towns, and I'm
I
saying,
understand.
Yarmouth has typically bundles by bucket, with the exception that this year they bundled by bucket and then had another article for a bonding for the old drive-in site, which is gonna be a new recreation facility. So they had 3 articles. One was a bonding, one was a $3 million worth of open space and recreation money, and one was $500,000 in free cash. So, those were, it touched 3 separate articles in that particular instance, but, due to the nature of the project. But I think the same thing, if you're talking about putting all of the CPA articles under one, you get up, you give your report on the total articles, and if anybody wants further discussion or questions on any one of them, before you go to vote, the typical way to address it is that somebody in the audience raises their hand and says, hold on Brooks Academy Museum. You do the same thing on a budget, typically, like when you go through the budget, think about how quickly our budget's passed. Typically, if somebody has a question about firefighter overtime, you'd say, hold on firefighter overtime, or, hold on cultural center because of a new position. So you would go through and you would then have, you could vote everything else except the few items, then you vote those other items individually.
Go ahead, Kathy, you got the floor.
Yeah, well, I have a couple of objections to the bundling, but part of it is the process, because it seems like the process would include having to make an amendment to the motion. So say the motion was to accept articles as is, say they were bundled in one grouping. The process of amending something is not easy on town floor, and it's frustrating, okay, because they have to have the amendment written, so then we have to wait till somebody writes it, and then it has to be approved by the moderator. Then we have to vote on the amendment, and if it's not clear, then we have to have a standing count, and then finally they vote on the amendment, and then we're back to the motion. So I think it's detrimental to our articles, to some of our articles, it would be. The process, and I also think that it doesn't give sort of due diligence to notice to each and every article for people to discuss. Strong feelings about some stuff and they don't about others. And I think they may be intimidated. It's just like the budget. People feel strongly about adding 5 firefighters, one way or the other, but
Right.
sometimes they don't speak up, because it's already wrapped in the budget and, whatever. And I would hate to lose that public interaction with the taxpayers, with the CPA articles.
I'm just trying to see if I can call up.
Okay.
the warrant.
Mary, hold on for a minute.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, so my recollection is that since I've been going to town meeting, which hasn't been all that long, this year was the first year that there wasn't bundling of 50,000 and under. And I was never clear to me why that happened. And
Ease. Ease.
who made the decision?
Town administrator, probably.
And that's why that bundling has happened that way in the past as well? It's a
There were
town.
also,
No, it comes from, it doesn't come from the town, it comes from the Board of Selectmen.
it also
Whoever-
came from town council at one
Yeah,
point too. The
whatever
town council
recommendation
wanted them listed like they were a capital expense. So there was that whole discussion over whether CPC articles were supposed to be listed as capital,
and-
which
Okay, and that gets lost on the taxpayers, excuse
Exactly.
me.
Yeah,
it
So,
does.
But,
Go ahead, John.
so we're having this conversation, but it's someone else's decision in the end.
Yeah, essentially, the warrant is in control of the Board of Selectmen. plain and simple. I'm sure they're gonna ask for a recommendation from us,
Right.
I would hope. But in the final analysis, they make the decision, on the warrant only. The articles are different. The articles are under our control.
Right. Well, but wait a minute. I mean, you're saying two contradictory things.
No, I'm not.
You're
It's
saying
the articles, they
get-
can't change the let me further, they can't change the nature of the article. Whatever the application comes in, and whatever we put together for town meeting, that can't be, the verbiage can't be changed. The attorneys can make recommendations, but they can't change the verbiage.
So it's the motions that they have control over.
Over.
But they're bundling language that we come up with potentially into a single article on the warrant.
That's what they're saying, because it's their warrants, not ours.
So, if I could,
Go
David, I
ahead,
can
go
just
ahead.
explain. So, from annual town meeting in April for Yarmouth, it was CPA community housing projects, to see if the town will vote to transfer and appropriate the following sums of money from the Community Preservation Act Fund, said funds to be used for community housing projects, or take any other action relative thereto. And then it's set out in a chart, a table, that says A, Yarmouth Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. Purpose, to create, preserve, and support affordable housing at or below 80% of area median income. Amount of CPA funding, amount and CPA funding source, $200,000 from the housing reserve, for a total of $200,000. Then, number 2 would be, Forward at the Rock. Phase 2, construction of 8 one-bedroom affordable apartments in Dennis for developmentally disabled Cape Cod residents. The amount in CPA funding source is $46,557 from the housing reserve, $433 from the undesignated reserve, for a total of $180,000. So it breaks it out individually so that you can see the amounts and where it's going and what it's for. And then to Kathy's point, yes, typically their motions aren't, their motions on passing are really, I move the article as printed in the warrant, as opposed to ours that have more of the details, but it's typically because of the way we've done the funding sources, but that would get addressed by the way it's, put in a table. So, just food for thought.
Kelly?
My initial thoughts, I agree with Kathy that I think if it were all bundled in one, I feel like that could be really confusing to taxpayers, and it would also be provide a setting where it could be really disorganized on if all of the articles and we had a lot under one, you know, if someone wants to talk about Brooks Academy and another person wants to talk about the street lights or however, it becomes really unfocused if people want to make sure that their voices are heard under that one article, where if it's separated out, which I think it may be better to separate out by category if the proposal here is somehow streamlines the process better. But that's my other question, is like what motivated this proposal in question, is if we changed it to all in one, does that streamline the process?
Issue that someday you'll get to understand.
I'm sure, but that would help me to know what to discuss or how to find a solution to this perceived issue.
Marcy? Yes.
Me? Yeah, do you have anything you want to throw out?
Oh, well, I'm just listening to everybody's reviews and thinking of it as like someone who's in the audience. I would prefer to hear every single item that's listed, where the bucket of money is being spent, just so there'd be a set amount of time to discuss if anybody had questions on each article.
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to one point that Mary made earlier, which was if you group them in a category, you said that, you know, it helps people see what comes out of the bucket. But we all know the buckets don't have that much money in them. And, you know, I mean, unless there's carryover, which there hasn't been a ton of carryover. So it's a lot of undesignated funds.
It is, but I do think it lets you see how much money is being spent on historic projects.
Oh, I agree with
right?
you there. I agree with you there.
So I think in that sense,
I agree in the
the-
totality of the
If you're-
historic versus housing versus recreation versus open space, for sure.
and I almost think that the bundling might actually, in that respect, might actually help the people sitting watching, saying, okay, we're spending $5 million this year on housing, or we're spending
Right.
$3 million because of Brooks Academy Museum and,
Right.
and, you know, 2 other projects. So in some respects, it does make a little bit of sense, and I can understand completely. If you've got 16 projects or 17 projects, like we have in some
Okay, but
years,
not many years we start off with that many, but 10 to 12 is our average.
but even so, that still can be a lot to look at all at once.
Yeah,
I
but
can understand
look how many
that.
years we've had no objections whatsoever.
Agreed.
I'm still a proponent of, if we had our choice of bundling them individually.
Yeah.
If we were
Forced to bundle.
not forced, if the, if the
The decision
higher
is
ups
being made.
then I think that we would recommend that it be bundled by section, by area.
By area.
But I think as a committee, when we take a vote, that vote can be passed on to the Board of Selectmen, number one. And number two, if we really have objections, because it's like, say it's all bundled in one, we can object on town meeting floor and remind the taxpayers that they have the right, and this is the process, if they want to discuss each and every single thing. And I think we should do that.
I do think our moderator is good about, it would be good about identifying that as well. Like,
Yes, he
'cause,
will.
you know, he's done that with budget line items and with other things, so.
It's
I
just
mean,
as if people feel comfortable. So say the CPA articles are at the end of the second night.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have the energy for that. And sometimes, maybe that's a strategic move, I don't know. Okay, I'm just saying.
Can I just ask,
Sure.
who is the moderator?
Michael Ford.
And if we spend 3 months vetting these projects, you know, to have them like, just, you know, piled together and, I don't know.
I don't think that to your point, Kathy, we didn't have any objections this past go-round.
Right.
Things were very smooth. Articles came up, they were voted before you could even sit back down, before I
Right.
sat back down on
Right.
one of the reports. So, you know, to your point, I don't have a problem with them staying individual. But I do also agree if the powers that be decide that they want to bundle them, I would prefer to see them bundled by category with a table like that, because it makes sense. And I do think at one point when the bundling was under 50, or was, you know, smaller projects bundled together, I do think that may have been a strategic move at some
May have
point to
been,
try
yeah.
and, you know, make sure that
Sure.
some things got passed when there may have been controversy, but, you know, I think we've been,
Yeah.
$78 million budget roughly. And we argued about balloons for how long?
exactly.
Yeah, right. Then the CBA budget this past May was over 2.5.
Mhm. Deserving of separate articles.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the name of the
Of the
my
what?
blank, property across from the lake up in East Harwich, up by Pleasant Lake?
Hinkley's Pond.
Not Hinckley's
No.
Pond, the property itself,
Marceline?
No,
across from Marceline's property.
No,
Went to
no.
the Conservation Trust.
yeah.
Well, they call it the Hinkley's Pond project, but it was Jenkins is the person who owned it.
Okay, the Jenkins property, I've
Okay,
got to put it
okay,
that way.
okay.
And this is a little convoluted for you, but Kathy's a little incorrect. We do have the final say on those articles. Because that particular article, we had a Friday night vote.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we got to town meeting, I told the moderator what the vote was, because someone had changed the venue for that particular article.
Yeah,
So
I
we do
recall.
have some
It's true.
control over what we do.
And
As far as the agenda's concerned, we don't.
So
And
to
everybody hated us for that.
Yes, they did.
To clarify David's point on that, CPA money cannot be spent without a recommendation from this board.
That's
So
exactly.
if we don't recommend the money get expended, town meeting can't vote on it. So
And that's when they.
that's the level of control that we have. We
We
don't have.
pulled it.
So
John,
We
go
flexed our muscles.
are you thinking we're gonna vote on this topic? Or what is the step here? Where are we going?
I think we should have a vote and then draft a letter and send it to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay,
It's up to the committee. It's what the committee's pleasure is. Kathy?
Might it be, since we have a little time, smart for us to send this out maybe to some of our applicants and ask how they feel about it, and maybe get some letters of support or non-support, and can bundle it in with our recommendation? I mean, that might be helpful.
That's a very good idea.
I'm in agreement on that, and before discussing a vote, I would like to, if there is an argument from the select board for bundling it, I would be interested in hearing what that argument is and what their reasoning is.
Well, you're gonna take on that project. You're the select board
Liaison.
representative to the CPC.
Super.
There you go.
right into that.
So that takes care of one. Would you, any of the board members be interested in drafting some information out to the applicants?
So I think a letter should come from you. If it's coming from anybody, it should come from the chair, personal opinion. And I think all it needs to say is, dear past applicant, our understanding is that the Board of Selectmen is considering presenting CPA articles bundled rather than as individual articles. We would appreciate your thoughts as a past
Would you
applicant.
send me in an email, please?
I think Jan got most of that.
I'm hoping. Like, anyway, yes, ma'am.
We are sending, FYI,
Mhm.
we are already sending the past applicants an email saying they have to do their update status report in September. We're sending this out soon.
Right.
The online application, Yahoo, you can do it online, and then this.
Why don't we just
That's
add
good.
that?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
good, put it
Yeah,
all
yeah.
together.
Yep, that works. Well, I don't want to jump around too much. Okay, is everybody in agreement with that? Kelly?
Are we asking for comments from those individuals for next meeting, so then we can continue discussing?
We can?
We can ask them to send them to your email.
The email
the CPC
address.
I just
Yeah.
figure that if
ASAP.
we're looking for, an answer for discussion,
Guidance.
then I guess next
Yeah.
meeting, by next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, and to Kathy's point, it's really not relevant until next. We don't have CPA articles on a fall town meeting
Right.
ever, so it's really not relevant for them until,
I'm smiling, we're being proactive.
Right.
No.
No,
but
we
until-
don't, we, obviously, until January, so to speak,
Right,
but it would be
exactly.
nice to have this
Absolutely.
kind of tucked away.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
it'll get busy come October, so it'd be
Yes.
nice
Yes.
to
We do.
have
Yes,
this
because we have a
discussion
very
now.
busy calendar.
Yes, we do.
That's my calendar for you.
No, thank you.
Um,
Okay.
Okay, we're in agreement with that? Okay, moving on. Really quickly, I wanted to update, who's gonna join us tonight. He has now a previous commitment he had to attend, but he's acknowledged that he wants to keep the door open between the trust and the CPC. So I'm going to invite him to our next meeting. So if you have any comments or questions, you can ask him when he's here at the next meeting. Oh, look,
There's the door creaking open.
so, I got that out of the way, all right.
Okay.
John, updated application?
So, the application is live online now. I put it up, sent an email to Jan, Dave, and Kathy, of course, went over it with a fine-tooth comb, which I very
That's what
much
she does.
appreciate, because she found a few problems in the document which have been fixed. But in the process, I also noted some updates on the webpage that need to be made, and you sent me an email today about at least one of those, which I
Yeah, I
didn't
did.
get a chance to look closely at. But the application is online, it's live. The only one I got was a blank one from Kathy, so,
I was just trying it out.
yeah, she was,
I say kudos to John for
It
working
appar-
so hard on this
Absolutely.
online application.
well, the test will come in October, or sooner, if anyone
sooner.
decides, you know, like tomorrow, they have to get in.
That'd be great, right?
It would be wonderful. I'll be
Yeah,
surprised.
as we can always remind people that although the deadline is, what is it this year, October
October
3rd?
2nd.
October 2nd.
Second.
Although the deadline is October 2nd, nobody needs to wait until October 2nd to
No.
complete their
Right.
application. We would happily
Ru-
receive them early.
Right, so if you're having a casual conversation with someone and they just happen to ask you, how do I apply? You can tell them to just go to the CPC webpage on the town website, and there's a couple of different
It was
links
easy
there.
to get into.
Perfect.
If I can get into it, anybody
You
can,
don't need to send them a link, you can just
Trust me.
describe how to get there.
trust me.
My favorite memory of this board was Kathy doing the,
Cut
doing
and
the
paste.
flyer with the
Cut
cut
and
and
paste.
paste.
No, literally,
Fabulous.
cut and paste and put it together.
It was fabulous. It was my favorite, it's one of my favorite memories, Kath.
That was before I knew how to really cut and paste. Now I know how to cut and paste, so
You're good.
to speak.
You've come so far.
I know, I have.
Oh, God bless us.
John, you all set?
But, yeah, I'm concerned about updating those three items, and I actually don't have them in front of me right now, but I know.
Okay,
I
so
don't
I'm
either.
gonna put it up to the board to ask, do you wanna start with the questions? Whatever you may have for him?
No, John and I already had our
Yeah.
discussions.
Okay. Marcy,
Okay,
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Mary,
Nothing, kudos, and thank you for the hard work.
you
Kelly?
bet.
Nothing, and thank you very much.
one thing I should explain, I have a very different style than the normal boards that sit at this table. I bounce around with people, so not to put anybody in particular being first or being last in any discussion. So, something you get used to. Yeah, Liz. Anyway,
Okay, thank you.
go ahead.
Well, so the tweaks that Kathy has,
I already gave them to him, and he already heard he did it.
so it's online live.
It's online live. The tweaks were for the informational packet, which is a PDF that you load from the online
That's okay.
form.
So,
I
but it
have-
is live.
It's been
It's
live
live.
since, for a week or so.
Perfect.
Nobody's discovered it, but
They will.
they will.
And your three items that you were talking about, one was the 2023 approved articles,
Right.
which I sent you today to put up.
Right.
And I don't know what else the other two
Well, it
were.
was an update. There is a list of the historic with, which includes, if I remember right, includes rescinded
Okay.
information, which is a rolling thing.
Yeah, do
and
you want me
that
to update that? You want me to take a look at it?
seems like a good idea. I don't know what the rest of the committee thinks, but
Okay.
we need to add the 2023 projects to that at least.
Right.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, give me a moment, I'm gonna find the list I sent you.
You mean your list?
Yeah.
Okay, update the comprehensive list.
2023.
Oh, a PDF. Last year, Jan, you made a PDF that listed all the approved projects at annual town meeting.
How is that different from the other list?
And then there's a list of active projects, which we published last year, which showed all the active projects. I mean, we can just decide not to do that, in which case I should take the out-of-date one off the website, rather than leaving out-of-date information up there.
Does anything show you how many hits we get? Like it's social media.
There should be. I haven't actually looked. There's
Like,
probably
sorry.
There's probably a way to get that information. Seriously.
whatever.
Are you killing me?
Anybody
We'll
have any
start getting
feedback?
more hits, because people will start looking.
Would anybody like to give John more feedback?
I personally think, keep it simple, and if there's one list that does the job for everything, then
So, update the comprehensive list and leave it at that.
that's what I would do. I mean, if you had a separate list of like last year's projects, that's fine, but I think it's silly for anyone to have to update multiple lists
Yeah,
that's
right.
giving you the same information.
I guess last year, the committee decided we should do these things.
Yeah.
I didn't, this was not something done on my initiative, I don't think, but I put them up there, but I just want to I want to update the website so there
Yeah.
isn't out-of-date information there. So I'm going to take off the list of active projects off there because it's now out of date.
Right, that's a good idea.
And,
Then just update the comprehensive list.
okay, that's fine,
I think that makes sense.
okay, I'll do that.
Kelly?
I don't have any comments, that sounds great.
She's not doing it, she's happy.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, Kathy, you all set?
Yep.
Okay, next. Miss Barber, you're up.
Great, well, this is a perfect segue from the topic about online applications, because you said that no one's discovered it. So I have the opportunity to help facilitate discovery if we want to put it on social media.
Absolutely.
Right.
Good idea.
Yep, so we talked about that a couple meetings ago. I don't have any updates on progress since we last talked 2 weeks ago, but that'd be one of the updates, is putting together just what we talked about a posting with the link and everything, and have the deadline on there, that you don't need to wait till the deadline.
Exactly.
And facilitate that and see if we get any hits that way.
That'd be
But
great.
again, talking with the library to get it on that page like we talked about last time, Cindy with the chamber, and any of the other sharing venues, if that all sounds good.
Sounds
Any
great.
questions for Kelly? Marcy?
I think it sounds good. I think she's right on top of it. I think, plus what you were saying with the hits, because you're gonna see that with the Facebook and the likes and comments, so I think it's good.
Mary?
I think that's great, and, if she gets that, you get that out there soon. There are, what, I think we discussed on top of the library, there's a Harwich Cape Cod page, there's I Love Harwich, there's Old Timers, and then the Chamber of Commerce always shares everything too, so I think if we get them on those.
Yeah, exactly.
You
That's
know,
that's
it'll-
in there as well. Yeah, so Jenny at the library, she was really good at not only sharing our last meeting on the library page, but also sharing to a lot of those platforms. So if any get
Great.
missed, that's something that I'm monitoring, where in my meeting with Jenny that's coming at some point, figuring out a plan of whether the library is going to facilitate sharing to those pages, or if that's something where they post and the chamber posts and I just facilitate sharing. It's easy, just need to know who's doing what, and I'll keep track of all those different pages and what the interactions are, so I can see where we're getting hits or not.
That sounds fantastic.
John?
Sounds great to me.
Kathy?
mean, truth be told, majority of our applicants are repeat applicants from the town itself. So I don't know if they are gonna view the webpage, I mean, the Facebook page. And then the outside applicants, outside of town, are again, frequent flyers to the program. I'm not sure if they do either, but it at least get the information out there, and people, it might spark some interest, like, hey, what is CPA? What, what are they talking about? And all that is good publicity, so.
Exactly. That's my thoughts too. And in case for whatever reason we get a new applicant
Yeah.
from this, whether directly or indirectly, then that's great as well.
Right.
Stay with us.
No, I know, it's, I just received some information from the town finance director.
Oh.
Kathy and I had a couple of conversations with Kathleen, I believe.
That's the new finance
That's the
director.
new finance director. I'm just gonna see if yeah, so, I said we'd give her 3 or 4 weeks once she gets settled in, and Kathy and I will make an appointment to go in and speak to her and go over some of the funding and just make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. She just sent me some information. I need to analyze all this. So I'll keep the board posted when that does happen. Maybe next week sometime, I'll call her and see if she's available, so we can sit down and have a chat. Another thing is, the Cape Cod 5 sent a document, the developer of the project that we funded. He wants to change the terms of the contract essentially. And the town meeting's money for them was a grant. They want to turn it into a loan. Mary gave me an explanation of why that might happen, but
Pure guess. I have no
This is
idea, no real.
This is Penrose.
yeah. So I've informed the town administrator, I informed him before he left, and he was gonna look into it and talk to legal about it. So we'll see when information comes back. That's about it and I'm sorry I jumped in. I'm processing everything I just read. So is there anything you need to conclude your discussion, John?
We
I think we're
concluded
done
because
with
we
mine.
moved on to
We're
Facebook.
on, we're on Kelly.
Okay, so Kelly's done, you're done.
But can I just ask?
Go ahead, John.
Clarify what you just said, Dave. I heard you say, and I just want to make sure I heard right, that Penrose is asking to turn their CPA grant into a loan.
No, I don't know if it's Penrose or the Development Corporation. I don't know if it's the state.
Somebody,
That is-
Somebody is.
whoever the recipient
Yes.
of the grant was
Yes.
for the Penrose. Okay, all right.
So, yes.
So
Okay,
let council give you an answer on
Yeah,
what they think and
that's-
go from there.
okay. And I will be in touch with you sometime in the middle of next week. And we'll set up a time to go talk to the finance director, if that's okay with you.
She doesn't know you're
She's
talking
not,
to her.
no, I know she blocks me out. That's
Oh, what
okay.
did she say?
He was talking to you about, he's gonna call you next week to set up an appointment to go talk to the.
I was
the finance
I was sorry.
What are you, my
I'd-
work wife, for
I'd
God's
moved,
sakes?
I'd
What's
moved
going
on to the
on
next,
here?
I'd already moved on to the next
You're
topic. I moved on,
Okay,
sorry.
oh, God. All right, next, meeting agenda for next
No,
meeting.
no, no, what about the signs?
Oh, yes, I didn't check that off. Yep, discussion on where we're gonna place the new signs.
Berks Academy Museum. I think there's a lot of money being spent there, so seems to me that there should be one there.
Which? Banner?
That needs a banner, though,
I think
because
so.
people can't get close enough for a
Agreed.
sign because of the
Agreed.
construction.
Can
Agreed.
we update the one at the library?
Well, I think,
I'm not trying to step
no, no,
on
no,
anybody's
no,
toes.
no, no, can I,
It's just this little,
I know, but
okay.
to
Oh,
Ginny's,
see, they're coming for us now.
yeah, to Ginny's point, when a sign is sort of generic in nature, people might get confused as to who's funding what. So their initial sign was because we funded the exterior painting and renovation, okay, or restoration, whatever you want to call it. Right now, maybe some roofing is being done, and it looks like we're paying for the roofing, which we're not. So I know we had a discussion 2 weeks ago about when major or numerous projects are done on a particular building, you know, that maybe a plaque, kind of like on a entry sidewall or something like that might be more appropriate, that said, you know, in part, these, you know, projects have been funded by your CPA, you know, tax dollars or something like that.
Beautification and restoration
Right, or
was,
whatever.
was funded with taxpayer dollars through the CPA in 2019.
So, but for the signs we're talking about now, which are temporary in nature, they're
Banners, yeah.
banner and the sort of
Stick in the ground.
stick in the
Yard-
ground
yard
kind of thing.
signs.
I think we need to put them in a more current, fluid kind of projects right now.
High volume area?
Yeah, I mean,
What about the playground at the elementary school?
That would be a good idea. That's getting a lot of use,
Or the pickleball courts, those are,
and that's getting a lot of use.
I think definitely something down in recreation, but they have something at recreation. They
And
have,
yeah, there's 3 or 4 signs.
right. I think maybe,
Brooks Academy is absolutely that's a given.
I mean, the building on stilts made it onto Chronicle, so.
it did.
It did, so.
That was an excellent little TV snippet, don't you
It was a
think?
nice snippet.
It was.
I just wish there was a sign there that said, funding by
Yeah.
taxpayer
Right,
dollars with
right.
CPA and not the
It-
Historic Society, which is how it
All
came
right,
across.
I think we should try, if we're gonna do like a start of like 4 signs, let's say, you know, a couple banners, a couple signs. Let's pick something from each category and put them out there, see what happens.
All right, so historic would be,
Brooks Academy, I
Academy.
think, without a doubt.
recreation would be
The pickleball,
pickleballs, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, that's high
Banner
volume.
or a sign?
Banner,
Banner.
banner.
Well, because I think the banner, it's gonna have to go on the fencing, right?
Right.
I would
Yeah.
think.
Right. And then
Open
to
space,
open space, maybe at one of the kiosks where we've funded something. I don't think the Copolis, why are you laughing, Jan?
Because you know everything we did, so you made it sound like my brain.
Oh.
funded
So,
something.
well, no, I mean, we funded lots of,
Right.
many projects to a certain extent, and I'm just thinking what's gonna get a lot of visibility, and I know the Copolis property was a big number, but it isn't ready yet, it's not ready to be open to the public yet, so until it is, it's kind of a waste to put any signage there, because there's
What-
no public really access right now.
What about the Bank Street Bog and Colebrook?
Okay, so we didn't do much for Bank Street Bog, but the
Cool.
fire station
Colebrook.
would be a good one, even though it's still historic.
Right, it's historic, but but I was just thinking, because you've got the walking trail and you're gonna have the handicapped accessible.
Good idea, I forgot about that,
That's what I'm
perfect,
saying.
perfect.
They're side by
Yeah.
side, so,
Perfect,
you know,
perfect.
even if you do one and
Yeah.
hit both at the same time, you
It's
might,
perfect.
you might luck out.
It's perfect. That's a great idea. So
That's what I
good for
meant when
that.
I was talking
Yeah.
about the bog.
Okay.
Sorry.
sticker banner.
Huh?
Sticker banner there.
I think that's probably a stick in the ground.
Stick in the ground, right, agree. And then how do we do something for housing? Like, how do we ignite,
There's nothing going on at,
there's no bricks and mortar yet, so we have to kind of be more creative.
Marsline property?
Right there on 24 where you're going across
yeah, why not?
Route
put it
6.
Why not put a
Because you
sign
can
there?
see that you're coming off the exit.
Request of the Affordable Housing Trust that would like to at least put something there that says,
That's another stick?
A stick might get lost if there's a lot of traffic. It might have to be a banner.
But
Where would you put the
How
banner?
do you fly a
I
banner?
don't know.
There used to be a fence
Fence
opening to
on-
that
right,
property.
on this, across, yeah.
I don't know if it still
Yeah.
exists.
Yeah, I think that there's still questions about, the exact direction that's going. So they may not want the publicity there just yet. So maybe we can come up with something else.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, we funded that,
We funded the trust.
yeah.
We funded the trust.
The trust
That's
has made their decisions on where their money is gonna go. So
Right.
we,
Yeah, they bought the property.
they did, but, we're not sure what's going on.
With the CPC taxpayer money.
Don't tell me, I know.
Kelly,
I feel like putting a sign there, if there isn't already like an affordable development underway, wouldn't really be clear on what exactly the CBA funded.
Right.
'Cause if you're putting like a stick in the ground by a piece of land, is that open space? What is that?
Right, exactly. I agree with you. It's
Yeah.
not, it's questionable right now.
This is gonna
Yeah.
sound stupid,
Mm.
but what about a sign right here at Town Hall
Mhm.
that says, that CPA provides, funds for the Affordable Housing Trust and their projects?
Well, the only thing is that the signs are not gonna be, project-specific. The signs are more, for example, okay, so the signs are going to, as we talked about 2 weeks ago, Harwich Community Preservation Act, and then we had some differing as to what the next word was gonna be. And I did some research, and I think should be Harwich Community Preservation Act project, and then supported by the taxpayers of Harwich with CPA funds. But project sort of covers
Everything.
everything.
that's very good.
And, thank you. And, I was losing sleep over that one. And,
Oh, my.
but, so if we were gonna put something at Town Hall, I'm not sure we would be
Yeah.
specific to affordable housing. It would just be, so I don't know.
I'm
Well,
gonna
I mean, the
table
only
this for a
really-
moment. Conservation. High volume area, conservation.
Oh, boy.
Well, isn't the trailhead?
Well, there's things along Church Street. There's the trailhead up the Muddy River and, what is the name of that?
The
That's-
Marini property. The Marini property at the end of Church Street?
Yeah, near the end of Church Street, and then down Bay Road, it's.
It's the Isabella Smith property.
Yeah.
You know all these.
You do.
Yeah.
You'd think I was a hiker or something, I'm not.
It has been on real estate and open space for how many years, Kathy?
As long as here.
Exactly.
But those two come to mind as, well,
John, you only get one. What would you like?
John, don't you want to go for conservation project? Like, how about the Bell's Neck, the use of CPA funds for the monitoring of the Bell's Neck area to keep it clean and to the signage
I
and
mean,
the
that's-
fences
Is that
and,
the one that we just did?
yeah,
Yeah.
With that parcel letter?
that's
cameras.
a great idea.
Yeah, that is a
That's a
great idea.
fairly high-traffic area.
There you go.
But,
I'm
and,
still going to find my eagles. I want to find my eagles.
There you go.
so, it would be in the bog side of the Bell's Neck area as opposed to the other side of the West Reservoir, right? So, and that's a stick in the ground, because I don't know where you'd fly a banner.
What about on one of the gates, the metal gates? Could you put a banner on a gate? On one side of the gate?
You could, but down in that area, I think a stick in the ground would be
Well, the
more
other thing
appropriate.
is, there is now some split rail fencing down by the Herring Run, which a banner could, you
Oh.
could talk to
Oh.
Amy about that, a banner could go along the split rail fencing.
We could see how long it lasts too, because
See, that's, you're catching what I'm.
I know what you're saying.
Well,
Vandalism potentially, potential weather wear,
Right.
hurricane storms, floods.
Stick would be much better down there, in my opinion.
So
Well-
like where, right near where the herring run is John suggesting there?
Yeah, which can be disappeared faster, that's.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the question. And a banner is, a bigger thing,
Right.
I would think would be a better way
Let's defer to you guys.
to have
Well,
a bit of
I'm on the
longevity.
opposite side of that. The bigger thing makes more of a target. But anyway, just again,
I
I'm
don't
sorry,
know.
John.
It's a call.
Yeah,
In my
I mean,
personal
Kelly.
opinion as a conservation professional, I'm in agreement that a banner would be better there. Because the yard signs you can easily pull out, and I just envision that just from personal experience, that getting tossed in the river.
Okay, so I don't want any member of this board taking,
Prove me
Anyway.
wrong.
All right, so what we've concluded so far, if I may,
We have at Brooks Academy a banner.
yep,
Sounds like a yes. A banner at the pickleball courts.
yes.
Sounds yes. At the walking trails by the rehab of the old fire station, at a kiosk is a road sign. At those new walking trails the trust is doing.
Yeah.
the-
a sign, yeah, sticking to the
Stick and
sign, yep,
It sounds like maybe a banner
yeah.
at the Marston's property
No,
purchase.
no,
No.
Bell's Neck Reservoir. We're
Bell's Neck.
skipping the Marsh line for now.
And not at the town hall.
Nope.
No,
No,
So the conservation of the Marini property?
no, no,
Nope.
no, no.
Bell's Neck.
Bell's
Bell's
Neck
Neck.
Reservoir, yep.
Okay, not Church Street, not,
And a
Bell's
banner.
Neck. So we're gonna do a banner.
Banner at Bell's Neck.
Is Bell's Neck also at the Herring Run? Are those
Yes.
two the
Yes,
same?
same
Yes.
thing, yeah.
Thank you. So we're gonna do a banner there after we ask Amy.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Okay.
three
So we
banners and a
have
sign to start
one-
off with.
essentially.
We have one sign, which we have, and we have one banner, 2, 3 banners, so that's 4 signs that we are thinking of.
Right, and that's gonna go to the discussion that you and I have with
Right,
the finance director. Go ahead,
but
Kathy.
might I make a suggestion that we make up like at least 5 signs and probably 5 banners. We don't need to put them all out right away. Let's get the order in.
Okay,
And then we'll see how the first 4 go in terms of visibility, likability, compatibility, and whether they remain where they're located.
You'll have something for a replacement or to put someplace else if
Right.
they
Right.
seem to stand the test of time.
Kelly,
My question is then if, after we put them up, who is monitoring them for vandalism or otherwise? Would we like to have individuals adopt certain spots?
Marcy,
I can do that, I can monitor those sites.
There you go, there's our monitor.
Fabulous.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Good heads up. Okay, are we done with that particular issue? All right, moving on.
So do you want me to talk to Cindy about the final?
I don't want to do that until we have that
Okay.
discussion with the finance
Okay.
director.
All right.
Next agenda points. John, anything for the next agenda? Marcy? Kathy?
Yeah, I want to go over a proposed calendar for our application process.
Okay. Mary?
Agree with Kathy.
Kelly?
I believe we have the warrant article discussion for next meeting too.
Do we have that? Warrant article discussion for next meeting?
Yeah, you mean when the blokes come back,
Right,
their
Yeah.
suggestions,
Yes.
right?
right.
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
And Larry,
And Larry.
And Larry, yep, Larry will be there, hopefully.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, folks.
who was the second? Mary